We were very open and honest with each other.
From the beginning, we talked about our exes. We talked about past dating experiences. We opened up about the people we were dating prior to finding each other. Like, I was about to go on a trip to California to go meet with the guy that I was like somewhat kind of dating, and he was about to go to Mexico.
I had plane tickets already booked to go to see a chick in Mexico that I had met before I'd come back.
Yeah, but we were just so open and honest about all of that. And although we were very triggered during a lot of the conversation, like he was still talking to his ex, actually. Ooh. I remember that being like a thing that I was working through.
Yeah.
But we just, I guess the full intention with each other was like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this and start the foundation right. Solid with honesty.
And a lot of people are afraid to talk about the past or each other's past because their ego gets so triggered and then they start to feel like they're not enough and all these insecurities come up. But there's also so much to learn. Mm-hmm. And you're essentially given the blueprint. What did work, what didn't work for that person. So
that's
I was able to
to
ask her, like, okay, well, what about your marriage was amazing? Like, what parts were good?
Mm-hmm.
And early
love
on.
that. Because a lot of people don't even want to think about that person in another relationship. Yeah. But instead of making that a barrier, you guys used it to your advantage.
Well, and men specifically don't ever want to think of, like, they want to think in their head that they're the only ones that have ever had sex.
Oh, guys do that? Because women, I will tell you, I'm a crazy person. When I don't want to think about that, but maybe I should, but not.
Well, it's a matter of healing and understanding that, like, your journey, like her journey and my journey, led to creating the people that we are today to have this relationship. And without those experiences, we wouldn't be the person we are. They would be falling in love with that person.
Yeah,
right?
No.
So, but it wasn't easy at all. Like, learning that the two guys that she had dated before me, both were making like 8 figures. They were in better shape than I was. Like
Oh, what's their names?
I would say them. I don't think we can.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to know.
They're one of them is very well known. Like most entrepreneurs know.
Interesting.
Right. And so it brought up insecurities for me.
That would bring insecurities to me too.
And that I really struggled with. Yeah. And working through them, I was like, well, there's really only now's right around the time that I actually, as a coach, hired a coach because I'm like, I need to pay a dude to hold me accountable because
I love that.
And just, so I found a dude that I trusted. I felt was a good coach and handed him $5,000 to just hold me accountable for a few months and call me out on my shit. And that was 3 months into us dating.
Yeah. See, I'm sorry. Nothing can replace that, the kind of human you are with money because you are rare. Mm-hmm. And money can't, it just doesn't, you're the prize. Like, you know what I mean?
The fact that he took initiative to hire a coach before he spiraled was so
unheard of. I didn't even
know that he hired the coach for him working through his insecurities with my past dating. Like, I had no idea. I thought he did it for business. And then I ended up having a one-on-one session with his coach. And he kind of alluded
Months
to the fact,
later,
that you actually hired him for me. I was like, for me?
Yeah.
Did you tell her that you were insecure about her?
Yeah, we had very open conversations about it. But it was even like there was things that I was struggling with that were really annoying and felt so stupid. Like she had a hoodie from Aruba that some dude that like flew her out. Yeah. So again, this financial, like I was making okay money, but not that kind of money at all whatsoever. And like this dude flew her out to Aruba and all this stuff. And she had this hoodie from Aruba. And every time she wore it, it would piss me off.
Oh, I get it.
And then the other dude that is well known and making a lot of money basically gave her a wardrobe of this brand that's really nice. I'm like, I like the brand, but every time I see it, even till this day, when I see it, I think of him. But it doesn't bother me anymore like it used to. I just don't care. It's okay.
I love that you in your masculine, you're able to say that because I always thought that that's a very feminine thing of like the jealousy. And I think that might create problems in relationships or when you're trying to get to know somebody if they are secretly jealous or they're secretly insecure. They're going to do things that are going to make you think that they don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's just an internal problem that they need to work through.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys run. A lot of guys will use manipulation. There's so many things that guys do.
Yeah.
But to your, I mean, all grace to you, because you stepping outside of that and just being truly organic to yourself, like that's the key, right? You're
But that
strengthening
requires
yourself.
Confidence. It requires a lot of confidence.
And humility, willing to accept that there is things that you're not capable of solving yourself.
Yeah.
And so you sought help, and that was very admirable. So.
I mean, and then on the other side was the stuff that she was battling with.
Yeah. So I had some deep, deep abandonment, trust issues. My dad has cheated on my mom since as long as I can remember. And he's obviously like the first male figure that I looked up to. And so I just didn't trust any men. I was very, very against men, which is weird. Like
same.
Yeah.
I feel that. I know that feeling.
Yeah. And so when we first started dating, whenever he would have to go for longer work meetings or if he wanted to go out with the guys, I struggled heavy to the point where I even would feel like I wanted to commit suicide because the separation was so much for me and I felt like he didn't love me.
This is so relatable.
Yeah. And it's like nobody really talks about how intense that feeling can feel.
It's dark.
You
don't want to get out of bed.
Yes.
You could cry. I tried to take my life, and a lot of it stemmed from the guy who I was in love with.
Yeah.
And it's a very lonely feeling.
It is. And then when you try and, especially if it's given to someone who doesn't know how to hold that space for you, I'm grateful that Dylan was very gentle with me because I let him know, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me work through it?
But I wasn't at first. I struggled with that first because I'm like, I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm a man of integrity and a man of my word. And I have not done anything for you to not trust me. And now I'm paying the price of what all these other men have done. And it would piss me off. And I'd get frustrated with her because I felt like she didn't trust me and I felt like I didn't deserve it.
But
and
it took me having to explain to him where it all came from. So it took a lot of self-awareness on my end to say, hey, I'm recognizing that this is a problem because I had this same issue with my past relationship and I didn't realize it until now. And so I asked him out of humility. I'm like, look, I'm struggling with this. I know I'm asking a lot from you to be like, okay, I'm going to hold space for you, even though you don't deserve the mistrust that I'm giving you. But he was eventually, but through understanding my story and really loving me, he was like, okay, we're gonna try and work through this together. And there was one night that was so pivotal in the healing of that. Was, oh my gosh, I it's weird because when you think about memories, you can re-pull up those emotions that were associated with it. But I knew that this was something that I needed to overcome. And so the only way I was going to do it was through practice. And so I actually asked him, I'm like, look, can you go out with the guys? Go out with the guys knowing that I'm going to do some major work at home. And if I text you, can you just let me know everything's okay? But at the end of the day, I'm going to refrain from texting you. I need to do some work. Go out with the guys. I need to test some things. And so he went out and I have this, I call it my trauma bean bag. Because
oh my God, I love that. Can I steal that?
Yeah. I have a bean bag that I do, I've done the most internal work. I've cried, I've punched it. I've sat in my sadness for hours on this bean bag. And so I went to my trauma bean bag and I just, instead of distracting myself, because oftentimes whenever he would go out with the guys, I would counteract that by trying to distract myself by either going out myself or doing something to entertain me.
Drinking whiskey and playing video games.
Drinking whiskey.
Yeah. Drinking would be a big thing for me just to do the escapism, get out of my own way, my own mind.
Exactly. But this time I was like, the only way I'm going to work through this is if I actually sit with this feeling, even though it's uncomfortable. So I literally sat there for hours until something came up. I'm sitting there, silence, just wondering. I'm like, okay, my mind is starting to wonder. It probably took me about 5 hours of him being out that I started to feel the heaviness. I'm like, oh my God, the abandonment's coming in. oh my gosh, I'm hurting. Why am I panicking? I started feeling this anxiety build up inside me. But instead of allowing it to consume me, I started to think about all of the moments where, like, why did this initial feeling come up? And remembering and like learning how to forgive myself for the times that I felt like I had to protect myself against these things, but that I'm old enough now to be able to work through that. And so I just kept telling myself, I'm like, it's okay that you hated men. It's okay that you had a mistrust with guys because you had to. Like the only times you were so young, you had no idea when you saw your dad cheat on your mom, like you had to protect yourself. You built this shield, but you don't need it anymore. And I kept repeating this like in my head, you don't need this shield. You don't need this shield. And eventually, like after breaking down for probably another 2 hours, I felt like, and it's weird because you might think that something like this can't just be healed within, overnight. But I felt like that was the huge breakthrough that I needed to start trusting you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you came home, I was like, I'm ready to party.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But like not actually.
The thing though that was pivotal before that was there was a moment that she realized that if she didn't start taking responsibility for the work that she needed to do, that she was going to lose me.
That was, yes, very huge.
And at the same time that she started to take responsibility for the work that she needed to do, I realized that although her healing isn't my responsibility, that doesn't mean that I can't take responsibility for becoming a safe space for that healing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so these two things were happening kind of simultaneously. We were both because as a coach, I can hold space like crazy for everybody else.
Yeah.
But when it feels personal, like I feel like you don't trust me and it's questioning my character, even though I know who I am and I know how I've been showing up consistently for you, then I would get triggered and I would end up matching her emotions and meeting her in the same place. And I have a large range of emotions and now I've done the work to like bring it into this baseline of like smaller range, even though I have access to both the very high highs and very low lows. But actually that was the following year was my ringer of really dialing that in. But it really required both of us just to do the work and be committed to the work.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's the biggest thing is like making the commitment and knowing that we both needed healing and that we were willing to be with each other during that.
Yeah, because
we were like, if we're gonna do this, if we don't solve this now, we're gonna have to do it again in the next relationship.
That was literally what I was just gonna say.
Okay.
That is such
so
a
you may as
good
well.
something that little and simple. I mean, it's not little, the work, but something so in theory simple.
Yeah.
Is so impactful. I could see why you guys are together.